Would you believe me if I told you today that there are people living whose grandmother was a victim of the transatlantic slave trade? This is Matilda McCreer. She was born Abaki. Forgive me if I'm pronouncing that wrong. She was kidnapped in 1860 and brought here illegally through the transatlantic slave trade on the last known slave ship, Clotilda. Miss McCreer died January 1940 at the age of 83. You heard me right, 1940. I don't know about you, but both of my grandparents had already been born in 1940. Miss McCreer was kidnapped and brought to Alabama when she was only 2, along with her mother and 3 sisters. Her 2 older sisters were sold to a different plantation, and she never saw them again. When the Civil War ended, she was only 7 years old, and her family had no way to return home. Now, in 1931, when her grandson let her know that he had received his overdue bonus from World War I, she decided that it was time for her to get reparations. Miss McCreer walked 17 miles to Selma, Alabama, and demanded reparations. The judge denied her. She even showed the marks on her face to prove that she was a Yoruba woman and brought here against her will. She was still denied reparations. Miss McCreer never married, but she did have 17 children and was said to be in a sort of common law relationship with a German man, but they never lived together. So for a long time, people were actually very skeptical on whether or not the Clotilda really existed. But the remains of the slave ship were found January 2018. A few other Clotilda victims that you may have heard of. Cujo Kazula Lewis. For a long time, Mr. Lewis was thought to be the last known survivor of the transatlantic slave trade. He died in 1935. Charlie Lewis, who's also the brother of Cujo Lewis, and Radoshi, who transitioned in 1937. Now, even though they were denied reparations, the victims of Clotilda worked together to buy land and build Africa Town. Now, Robert Meir, the great-grandson of Timothy Meir, who is the owner of the Clotilda, he went on to say in 2020 that he doesn't believe that the wreckage of Clotilda is real, even though it has been authenticated. He also attempted to justify his grandfather's crimes by saying that he never went to prison. Justified the enslavement by saying that Cujo became a Christian in the U.S. The descendant also stated that he was not interested in meeting with any survivors. As you can see, the apple does not fall far from the tree.